And this is going to be an interactive session because I don't really have slides to present. I'm actually going to walk you through some of our own learnings as a new business, and we have been helping Tycon as well as a couple of other clients ramp up their business and establish a stronger social media presence. I also have my my colleague here, Vaishali Malpaker, and we have started this venture together. So we are going to go ahead and just talk a little bit about how to target Facebook, the platform of Facebook and Instagram, when it comes to taking your brand in front of millions of people. So my first question here is, and you could use chat to interact, folks, by the way, or you could feel free to also just keep your microphone unmuted because this is going to be an interactive session. So my question to the people who have joined us, and I see 4 other participants besides me and Rishali. My question to you all is, if you have used the platforms of Facebook and Instagram for advertising before. If you have, you could just raise your hands or you could just say a yes. All right, so I see Juanita has done that, and I hope I'm not butchering your name. Okay, I'm going to assume. Okay. Is the J silent? Juanita? Is that how you pronounce it, or am I butchering it further?
Actually, it's supposed to sound like Juanita. Yes.
Juanita. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for correcting me. All right. So what we're going to do, and Juanita, would you please tell me if you have used the Facebook Ads Manager or have you just boosted posts on Facebook? How have you advertised on Facebook?
So I use that for the product marketing because we're looking at our lead generations. So we're using, we're trying to identify what is our KPIs. So we want to know, first of all, every tweet we pay how far we reach out. So how far we really reach out to the audience and how much the audience is engaging with us. We're looking at the interactions of the participant, how much they view in each ad, and how many people click on that link that they want to learn more about it. And then we actually trace it using the Google Analytics just to see how many people using from their journey to learning how they, looking for this research or looking for the Google search or whatever the search engine they're using. And we're very curious about what kind of language it is supporting because we do a lot of international support.
Perfect. So you actually have a lot of background about Facebook ads, right? And you could share your thoughts and learnings as we go through this session. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, folks. And we are going to target a couple of the things that we discussed. Now, one of the things that you need to understand in any sales funnel before you start is that if you start, let me ask you this, right? Let's assume we are a digital marketing company, so it is obvious that whenever we host these sessions, we are looking for new leads as well. But what if I started this session by telling you, hey guys, if you're interested in digital marketing, go ahead, this is my number, and please contact us, and I stop it at that. How would you feel about it? And I know we are limited on interaction, but if I put my perspective, if someone just walks up to me and tells me that, oh, by the way, I own a marketing company, here's my card, contact me, I am probably just going to take a step back and say, okay, and maybe be kind to the person and just say, yes, sure, I'll think about it, but I don't know where that visiting card, the business card is going to end up at. So and it's the same when it comes to pitching anyone on the digital platform. When you think about pitching to your clients on the digital platform, sorry, let me go ahead and share the right screen. Okay. So when it comes to pitching your clients on the digital platform, it's the same logic, right? If you go out to your clients and then you start selling them immediately on the various social media platforms, and especially if you're a new business, then you should assume that you are not going to get a lot of conversions unless there is a product or a deal that is just so amazing that people don't even want to miss it. So, in any process, and you all must have gone through a lot of different funnels, especially people in the audience. If you are part of a marketing team, then you have heard about things like top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel, and so on. So, to simplify it, I like to break it down into 4 steps. When you start engaging with people in real life, the first thing that you go and do is introduce yourself. You don't go and start by just saying that, oh, I am uh, I am Sonia, and this is my designation. You don't just start with that. You will connect with the people, you will talk to them, you will introduce them to who you are. Of course, the organization that you work at, the designation that you hold, that is part of your introduction. That is you trying to make the other person aware of who you are. So, in advertising terms, we call it awareness, brand awareness. So, the way I like to break it down is if you are trying to advertise and you are a new company that people don't know about, you're not a Nike, you're probably not one of the mainstream companies that are not even trying to just get audience from social media because they are so popular. Rather, they just want people to keep looking at their brands and constantly pine for the new Nike Air shoes that have hit the blocks. So if you are a new business and you're seriously looking at conversions, the first thing that you need to understand is that the audience needs to be aware of you as a brand. When you go to Facebook and you start looking at the campaigns, no one said that Facebook Ads Manager is the easiest. One of the easiest ways to advertise on Facebook is to actually use their uh, Facebook Post Boost. However, you will soon learn that for the money that you put in the page, the boost, you will get better output when you try to address the same audience through Ads Manager. Okay. So the 4 steps: first, build awareness with audience. The second step is to get them to engage. So you reach out to the audience and hope that the audience will engage with that. But if not, then you want to create posts, you want to create more ads where you get further engagement from the audience. And can you all see my, okay, I can see the Facebook page. All right, so I'm sharing the right page now. The second step that you then want to do is as a brand. Now, let's say we are 86, right? So people start recognizing us. We advertise on the social media, then people start recognizing our brand. Now, once they start recognizing your brand and they start engaging with you, the next thing you want to do is make them aware of your product offerings. So you have brand awareness, for which you reach out to as many people as you can. Then you have engagement, get people to engage with your brand. Then you make the engaged audience and even new audience aware of the products that you're offering. And after that, you try to convert those people into leads. So for me, the last step is conversions. Unless you don't really build a rapport with anyone in real life, they're probably not going to listen to your sales pitch. It's the same even in the social media world. You have to build a rapport with your audience, engage them, and you take it from there. Some of the simplest campaigns to start with on Facebook, and let me ask you this, right? How many people know, or let's just take a wild guess, how many active users are there on Facebook? Let's just say in a month, how many users do you think log into Facebook? And you can throw in some random numbers. Anyone wants to take a crack at it? 100 million? Okay, we have one guess over there. Balakrishna, do you want to take a guess? Okay, 500 million. Cool. So Facebook reached 500 million accounts a while ago, and if you guys remember, this was also shown in the movie The Social Network, which was released a few years ago. As of 2020, Facebook gets an audience of 2.6 billion active users every month. And Instagram gets an audience of over 1 billion active users every month. But on Instagram, you have about 500 million people, 500 million daily active users. So if you think about it, between Facebook and Instagram, you're probably reaching out to over 3 billion to 3.5 billion people. The population of the world in 2020, our global population was 7.8 billion. So through just the channels of Facebook and Instagram, you are able to reach out to over 3 billion people in the world. Now, that is the power of an outreach campaign on Facebook. So if you do it right, your outreach campaigns could actually be pretty reasonable. Now, depending on the area, one of the things that you need to understand is that your audience size defines how expensive your campaign is going to be, which is why just setting up, boosting your post is probably not the best thing to do. So let's take a step back and think about how will you attack Facebook marketing when you are a new startup. So if you are a new company, and unless you're a business that is just selling, you have set up shop on Facebook and you can do that, and you're just selling items on Facebook. If you are not doing that, then the first thing that you're going to probably have is a website. So you'll create a website and your audience will be able to go to the website. So I'm just going to use this website from a client, and we have the permission to share this. So this is a radio station, and this is their website. Now, Facebook has something called as Facebook Pixel. Pixel is a tracking code. According to me, as soon as you have your website set up and you open it to the world, the immediate next steps that you want to do is go and create a business page on Facebook. And these are things that you could write down. If you just go to Google and check how to create a Facebook page, you will find that. But along with that page, you also want to make sure that you sign up for a business manager account. Now, when you are a startup, there's a chance that you might be doing everything under the sun. But sooner than later, you might want to collaborate with other brands. You might want to collaborate with other agencies who will take care of the social media marketing for you. That is where a Facebook business page, a Facebook business manager, so it's called a Facebook business manager, it comes into play. Now, to register and get verified on the Facebook Business Manager, you do need documents like your EIN or proof of company registration. So if you don't have it, then there is just limited stuff that you can do with the Business Manager. It does come with a suite of other products, and I'm just going to click here. So you can see that it has access to more details, like you have the Ads Manager, which you can get access to even without a business account. You can just have a personal ad account. Then you can create custom audiences. And for each of these items that you see here, you can do a lot of research with the people who are engaging with you on multiple forums. So you want to make sure that you have a Facebook page. And then if your company is registered, go ahead and create a Facebook Business Manager and associate it with the page. The verification process can take a few days because they will send you, at times they might send you a letter to the mailing address and so on. So make sure you have your business verified. What I've noticed is your Google My Business actually takes more time to get verified, But we are not going to target Google right now. Since the session is dedicated to Facebook and Instagram, we'll talk about just Facebook here. But these are the things that you want to do as soon as you have set up shop. On Instagram, you can create an account. And once you have this business page set up, you have your Facebook page set up. On Instagram, what you need to do is there are different options on Instagram. And let me see if, as you all know, Instagram mobile app is actually more has more features than accessing Instagram on desktop. But I'm just going to see if I can access just the business page from here. Okay, I actually cannot. So the thing is that when you go to Instagram, you get a personal account. You then have to go to Instagram settings and you have to change your business account into either a creator, you have to change your personal account into either a creator account or a business account. And then the next thing that you want to do is link your Facebook page with your Instagram account. And once you have done that, then you are ready to create ads on Facebook to target your audience on Facebook or on Instagram. I'm going to take a quick pause here to see if anyone has any questions so far. Okay, so we'll go on from here. Now, what if you don't really have a budget to create ads, right? Let's say you're just starting and you want to just get your feet wet. In fact, you probably don't even want to start advertising yet. Would you still want to go through all of this effort? Yes, at one point or the other, you are going to be using these platforms for advertisement. You might love it or you might hate Facebook, but at the end of the day, when it comes to advertising, Facebook has a very strong platform. In fact, the two biggest platforms for advertising that are out there, one's Google and the other is Facebook. LinkedIn, etc., all of them are just catching up. Their ad revenues are much lesser. The volume of ad transactions that happen on LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them are much lesser than the volume of transactions that happen on Google ads and Facebook ads. Now, what will you do by creating a page and by adding pixel to your website? Why would you want to do that? So I'm just going to go here and view page source so I can show you the pixel tag. If you have a WordPress website, adding your pixel tag is as simple, and you can Google it up, right? So Facebook has a pretty detailed step-by-step step of how to get the code to add to your website. If you have an HTML website, a static HTML website with JavaScript supported, you can just add it to the code. If you have WordPress, there is a plugin called Easy Head and Foot, or Header and Footer plugin, and it allows you to add the code to that. So I'm going to check for Facebook over here. And this right here is the pixel code. In WordPress, you are able to add this to a section of your WordPress blog such that the pixel code shows up on every page. This is the default pixel code. As you become more proficient with it, and by default, I'm not referring to the same pixel code for each account. Through your Facebook Business Manager, you have to create a pixel code, right? You go through Events Manager and stuff. I'm not going to get into the details of how to create one. But then once you create your Facebook pixel code, it will give you, you can either manage it through GTag Manager, or you can take the code and put it on your website. Why do you want to do that? Even if I'm not advertising, why would I want to still start? And what does pixel tracking do, first of all, right? So similar to Google Tag, even for Google Analytics, right? The function just above this is Google Analytics. You must have seen that if you visit a website, let's say you are shopping for bikes, right? And you visit a website, you don't shop on that website, but then after that, if you go just Google something, you would start seeing the advertisement of that website on Google, or even if you just go to other websites where they have Google banners, right? The ads banners, you'll suddenly start seeing ads of that website. Or if you go to Facebook, you now see the ad of that website and you're like, what the heck? You know, I had visited this website, now I see it everywhere. Well, that is brand retention, right? If you have someone visiting your website, they are interested in that, you probably want to target them on different platforms so that they keep looking at your brand. In advertising terms, we call it a brand recall, right? What is brand recall? That in layman's term, if I mention a brand to someone, like today, if I say Nike, I don't think there would be anyone in the audience who wouldn't know what Nike is. It's the same. So that is brand recall, that how many people are able to recall your brand after they have seen it once or twice. So when you add the pixel code, even if you're not advertising, the way these things work is that they are actually tracking codes, right? So what these codes enable Google and Facebook to do is today they not only just enable Facebook and Pixel to track who has visited the website, and for them to be able to track my website visits, I have to be signed into Google and I have to be signed into Facebook through the channels that I'm browsing. And admit it, guys, how often, I don't know how many people are there in the audience, but I don't even remember the last time when I had logged out of Gmail on my personal laptop. So I'm mostly logged in. And the same goes for Facebook. So what happens is, these platforms, they leave behind something called as cookies, and they use those cookies to track audience and to track how are they interacting with websites that have their tracking code. Now, when this tracking code is embedded in a website, based on how it has been configured, Facebook will not just be able to tell that I have visited this local radio station web page, the Radios in the Key web page, but it can also track my interactions with the page. So if you are selling a SaaS product, for example, right? Then what you can do is you can set up that pixel to track audience interactions. You can see the hotspots in your page, and you can do that with Google Analytics too, right? But if you have a cart, an online cart, and we don't have an online cart here, so I'm not going to be able to show that to you. But if you have an online cart, and if you have the pixel code embedded throughout your website, then through some additional steps, which are known as setting up actions, you can actually simulate the flow for a customer with the pixel code, and you basically complete a full transaction the way a customer would. And now what that code allows you to do is to actually track where each customer is in the workflow. For folks who have worked in the e-commerce world, you probably have heard this problem of abandoned carts, right? If you have these tracking mechanisms enabled, you are able to see in which process did a certain customer get out of the transaction. How many people went from the front page to your products page? How many people added a product to the cart? How many of them went all the way to checkout? So depending on at what point an audience member exited from your website, you could have different kind of campaigns thereafter to just address them. And if not that, even if you don't run the campaigns, then you have something called as audience insight. And we haven't really set this up for Facebook optimization, but I just wanted to show you what that audience insight looks like, right? Now, this is just people who are connected to this client on their Facebook page. They have over 27,000 followers. So now through the audience insight, you can see where your audience is coming from. And you can look at their job titles, you can look at their demographics, you can see how many, based on the page likes, you can also just remove the location here, and then you'll be able to see people from various locations. And then you see what kind of activities do they engage in. Now, this is for people who like the page, but your audience insights, once you have your pixel code set up correctly, you can also see how your audience is interacting on your own web page. Will Facebook Pixel track the user heat map? Will they replay? Yes, so I just saw the two questions, so let me take each one of them. Let me start with the first one, right? Brand fatigue. You're right that people do get bored of seeing the same brand ads again and again. And one thing that helps you in understanding where you are at is the frequency of the ad. So studies indicate that if your audience has seen your ad more than 3 times, then they're the same ad, right? The same imagery. If they have seen the same stuff more than 3 times, then they're going to get jaded. So what you want to do is constantly keep upgrading your ad creatives. And I'm talking about ads, but this also is true for the content that you're publishing organically, right? A lot of the if you go to like HubSpot, so HubSpot is a marketing platform. So if you go to their social media accounts, you will see that they use the same brand colors. So one of the things you want to do is also have a brand identity kit, right? Anytime someone interacts with our brand, with any brand, you don't just remember the brand by a certain product. You remember their logo, you remember their fonts, you remember their colors. For example, T-Mobile at one point had sued people. They have sued multiple people over using their particular shade of magenta because they have copyrighted that particular shade of magenta. For them, that when people look at that shade, they associate it with T-Mobile. So similarly, you want to make sure you have a brand identity kit which identifies your primary colors, your secondary colors, the fonts that you will use, the brand voice that you will use. So for example, if you are a brand that caters to teenagers and you do something fun, your voice has to be, it has to be zealous and it has to be probably a little humorous and so on. So you have to use that same time of tone to engage and attract that kind of audience. But what if your audience are business professionals? Now, a little bit of dry sarcasm here and then will keep them engaged as well. But more often than not, you might want to keep things a little professional. You probably don't want to get into too much politics when you are advertising anything or when you are even posting any organic content on your channel. So coming back to brand fatigue, people don't get bored and tired of seeing the same colors, but they do get bored of seeing the same thing over and over again. And it is human nature, right? Even with the toys that we had as young kids, when we were young, or even with the car that we have, the novelty of owning something eventually wears off. So it's the same with the ads. Well, you might have an ad that performed great, but if you try to show the same ad to the same people 10 times, they are probably going to go to the ad and then right click, click on those three tiny dots that show up against it and say, stop showing me this ad. So use frequency in order to see how you want to refresh your ad. The other good indicator is also to just look at your ad performance. Now, if I go to this campaign, for example, this ad is actually due for a refresh now. And the reason why I know I want to do that, well, when we started here, we were also investing more money. So I'm going to ignore that. But between the past couple of days, we have seen some audience engagement tapering off. Now, these are sample ads that we have been running in order to just identify the kind of people who are more likely to react to this. And you can see we have reached like a decent number of page likes in just about a week. We were able to get close to 17,000 page likes at a cost of 1 cent per page like. However, as you can see over here now, that our cost per result is actually increasing. You see this blue line over here, whereas the actual results, they are decreasing. So now is a good time for us to refresh the ad. And what we will do is we will change the creative, add a new creative that we know the audience that we're targeting, they are in the entertainment industry. So we will refresh the ad. And as a rule of thumb, I like to refresh ads at least once per week. It also depends on how broad is the audience that you're reaching out to. There are also this is an accelerated ad, so I won't be able to show it to you over here. Let me see if I can still do that. On Facebook, you can control how often you want to show an ad to a person. So once you get into that business, and I know we are getting into some nitty-gritties here, but this answers the question. So what you can do, and I'm trying to see if I can find it in the budget and scheduled here. Okay, so this is just for page likes and impression, but normally in your optimization and delivery, depending on when you run a reach campaign, right? And also if it's not an accelerated campaign as we are running right now, you will be able to see options in your ad set that give you micro control on how often should the ad be displayed to a user. So you can choose displaying the ad as less as once per week to as often as 10 times in a day. Now, if you're running some short life campaigns, then you probably want to display the ads more often. The next question, will Facebook Pixel track the user heat map? Will they replay each user's flow, user journey capture? Do we track when the customers left after struggling at Facebook ads? And what is the time limit to consider user impression? Good questions. Is Facebook able to track the user heat map? Once you get that data into other tools, you're able to see a better view. But yes, to a certain extent, Facebook is able to track actions on your website. So you have to emulate those actions, and then every action that you're taking, once you set up your pixel code, it gives you the option to, and once it has been set up on your website as well, it will give you the option to go and emulate the user's journey, and you can name each action. Once you have, so for example, let's say on your page, I have, I'm going to go back to the page here. Now I don't have add to cart, etc. But if I start emulating Facebook Pixel and I go here and I start interacting with, let's see, the videos. So Facebook is able to capture that, and it just shows up as action, but you can go and rename them. So you can track how the user interacts with the page at a micro level. Will they replay each user's flow? Now, I haven't seen that. it could be possible, but at least I personally haven't seen that. And yes, so we can track when the customers left after struggling in their Facebook ads. So far we have spoken about Facebook being able to track all of these details. Now the question is, what do you do with all of these details? Now you have all the data, right? So how do you use that data? We spoke about four things in the beginning: reach, engagement, so brand awareness, engagement with your brand, product awareness, and conversions. At the end of the day, if you are a company that's selling something, your ultimate motive is to convert. You want to convert free users viewing your website into paid users. So going back to the journey, if you have these steps on your website, first of all, in order to get people to your website itself, you need to you need to spread the word, right? Tell people this is something that we are offering and then get them to look at your website. Now, a good thing about Facebook is that when you try to create an audience, and I'm just going to go here and I'm going to go back over here. I'm going to go to audiences and you'll see a few different audience types listed here, and we'll just quickly click on a create audience to see how it functions, right? Facebook allows you to really get very close to your audience interests. I mean, between Twitter and Facebook, Facebook gives you more granular control over the audience behavior that you want to target. So when you click on create audience here, you can see there is a custom audience, lookalike audience, and then you have the special ad audience. There is something called as special ad categories on Facebook, and these are used by political campaigns or when you run ads for social causes, you use special ad categories for that. So most of the businesses wouldn't really be using these that often unless they are like maybe non-profits or they are running some political ads. Custom audience. So let's look at custom audience. And I don't know if the person has joined, but somebody earlier on the chat also had asked about custom audience. How do we build custom audience? So when you start building the custom audience, you can see here, you can use visitors information from your website. So remember, we put the Facebook pixel code. Now let's say you're not ready to start advertising, but then 6 months down the line, you want to advertise. What's going to happen? That Facebook pixel code was tracking all the visitors who were coming to your website, and it now has all that data. So even if you did not have use for the pixel code at the moment when you added it, let's say you were not even looking at your audience insights, but now all of that data is here. And Now you don't have to go and spend another 3 to 4 months in trying to just monitor the audience that is coming to your website because that data is already here. So that's why, going back to my first point, when you have set up shop, even if you don't see the use for it right now, go ahead and add the pixel tags and Google tags. So website, and we're just going to click on that. And now what it will give, the options that it will give you are these, that hey, there was a pixel setup there, so go ahead and choose all the website visitors in the past XYZ days. And the maximum, as you can see, is 180 days, which is why even I gave an example of 6 months, because you can go back up to 6 months to track all the visitors who had come to your website at that time. Now, besides using people from your website, what if, let's assume you have been a traditional business and you have a lot of offline sales, and now you are getting digital, right? So you want to start targeting people on the social media platform. How do you do that? That's where the customer list comes into play. If you use customer list, you are able to take a CSV extract. So CSV is a comma separated file. Let's just say you can take a text extract of the email IDs of your customers and upload it here. And if Facebook is able to map those email IDs to accounts, then it will know exactly who has been shopping with you. Why would you want to give that information to Facebook when they are already your customers? For two reasons. The first reason is, if you give that list to Facebook, by the way, for all of these to work, you need to have at least about 1,000 unique profiles. So if you have a customer list of 100, it's not going to do you that much good. I mean, unless you're ready to spend like big bucks and those are just the 100 people that you want to go and target, Facebook isn't really going to do a lot of justice to your advertising budget. So you need to have at least 1,000 people to get to that. Now, what if you don't have the 1,000 people? Well, that is when you can run the reach and the website traffic campaign. So you have people coming to your website. So more on that in a bit. Now, if you have over 1,000 people, then why would you upload your customer list? Two reasons. The first obvious reason could just be upsell, right? On websites that sell multiple products, let's assume you're an e-commerce website, because that is one website that gets where their business is not just tracked by the number of new customers coming in the door, but also returning customers. So if you are an e-commerce website and you are selling furniture, right? So if you have people who have already purchased items from you, you have new inventory, new stock coming in, you have clearance, whatever is the reason you want to upsell, go ahead, provide that customer list to Facebook, and if they use their personal IDs on Facebook and they use their personal IDs to register with your website, Facebook will know who they are. At the same time, if you provide a customer list to Facebook, you're also able to create lookalike audience. So we had looked at that lookalike audience earlier, right? With the lookalike audience, Facebook is able to extract attributes from this audience list that you share with Facebook. The more, the merrier, of course. And what it will do is it will try to match those attributes with other Facebook users. So if you have an audience, a customer list of even 10 to 20,000 users, and you try to go with a 1% lookalike. So when it comes to lookalike, you can create 1%, 2%, all the way up to 10%. Of course, 10% is the broadest. 1% means the attributes would be matched really close to the list that you're providing. From that 10 to 20,000 customer list, you can easily get a lookalike audience, and depending on how niche that is, you can get a lookalike audience of a couple of million people. And when you are doing that, you can, as you upload it, you easily see the numbers change when you create lookalike audiences. So that is the reason why capturing your customer data, however which ways you can, is useful. And most of the times you don't want to give the data to these platforms like Facebook. But if you do that in this case, it will extrapolate that data and allow you to reach out to other people who match your audience. So that's the customer list. Finally, if you have an app, you can get people from that app activity, even offline activity. Again, this is similar to just adding your leads list, right? Let's say you are a spa house and you have people coming in the door and they leave um, their addresses, or you went to an event. It was just a farmer's market, right? And you had a raffle there and you asked people to give them your email IDs in order to enter the raffle and stuff. So now you have a list of leads. If you want to upload those leads, that's what you can do with your offline activity. Now, so far, you must have already looked at these other types that are there. These are all Facebook specific types. Your page, it's always a good idea to get your customers to engage with your page or your group, right? And you'll see a lot of the companies do that because that is also an excellent way of to keep your customers engaged on various social media platforms. If they are following your page, then that automatically gives you brownie points when it comes to brand recall, right? Because anytime you post an organic post, they will look at it. But at the same time, you can use their information to now extrapolate, to help Facebook extrapolate on it and reach out to a wider audience. So going back to point one, as soon as you set up shop, try to add these tracking codes to your website. So now from here, once you have the audiences created, you can, uh, and by the way, your sources don't just have to be your websites, etc. You can also just create audiences when you're creating ad, and then you can use demographics. You can use like a lot of information to minutely target your audiences. So if I go over here, I just click on create ad, and then it's a little slow. Okay, see one more thing. In order to extract the lookalike customers list, does this mean Facebook goes into the user profile, gathering their likes, dislikes? So Facebook algorithms, they work in many different ways. And if they are able to map it to a user account, then besides their likes, dislikes, etc., they actually have a lot of intel on Facebook. I mean, to be honest, our privacy is just a term right now. Now that we are on this on these free, apparently free platforms, honestly, what we sell to them is all our data. So remember, I mentioned at the beginning that if I am a Facebook user and I visit all of these various websites and they have Facebook code, now Facebook just doesn't know my likes and dislikes from my account activity, but Facebook also knows the websites that I visit. What kind of things am I shopping for? So it knows a lot more than just my likes and dislikes and just my Facebook activity. So, so well, you are not literally selling that information because the person who signed up for Facebook has already done that. The only thing that you're trying to do is now you say that, oh, by the way, this is what my audience looks like, and I want to find similar people because I have had good luck with these kind of audiences. Okay, so I have, oh, you know what? I have something running around over here. So I'm just going to continue that. And you see an ad set. By the way, this changes based on the objective that you create. So I'm going to go back into campaign and we'll quickly talk about the different campaign objectives. So look at this 3 Kanban steps, right? Remember I spoke to you about being able to like make people aware of your brand. Then you get people to engage with your brand, and then you think about conversions. So if you look at how this has been arranged here, it's exactly in that same fashion. A, you create awareness. In fact, many a times, if you're not on a tight deadline, then you can easily spend anywhere between a month to 6 months in order to just make people more aware of your brand. Um, Before you even use Facebook, though, one of the questions you should ask yourself is whether Facebook is the right platform for me. How many of you have seen Salesforce trying to sell their platform subscriptions on Facebook? Probably no one, right? Because Facebook is not a platform to sell subscriptions like Salesforce. But you might have been approached by someone on LinkedIn, one of their sales team members, to have a conversation. So that's the difference. And you first have to understand whether Facebook is the right platform for you to advertise. Facebook also allows you to control whether or not you want your ads displayed on Instagram. As we all know, the Instagram audience is a younger audience. Up until a certain point, Instagram was popular with just people who were under 24. But now, as those same people have started aging, I have seen the engagement change as well. Now I see people under 30 are also very well engaged on Instagram. It is still a very popular platform for teenagers and people in their early 20s. But if you look at the engagement, you can go and search for this on Google as well. But if you look at people in their late 20s, early 30s who are now actively engaged on Instagram versus the same ratio a few years ago, you'll see it has increased because this is a generation that graduated from Instagram and they are just used to it. So they have stuck to that. So slowly but steadily, I see that the Instagram age, the engagement age bracket has been increasing. Now on Instagram, fashion brands do very well, but if you see any ads for Salesforce or these corporate brands, they mostly are for brand recall. The times when you will see Salesforce run an ad is maybe when they are doing some social activity. So they want to let people know about all the good that they are doing in the world. Or if they have a conference, that's when you'll see those ads. But they are not going to try and sell subscriptions on Facebook. However, Facebook is in, remember I mentioned that between Facebook and Instagram, you could reach out to 3 billion plus users. So there is benefit in also people just knowing about your brand. I was reading the story at one point where there was someone who was investing a lot of money in podcasts, and I know it's slightly off topic. And what happened was they had spent about 17 to $20,000 advertising on podcasts, and they did not really get any leads directly coming out of that show. And they thought, you know what, this probably is not the right strategy, and they were planning to invest more, so they thought we have to rethink this. Now, when they started visiting some of the conferences, they had people talk to them and say, "Oh, you're from that company. You know what? I I was tuned into XYZ podcast, and that's when I heard about you. So I decided to just go and check your website out." So what was happening? Brand recall. Similarly, if you are a company that doesn't necessarily have the right sales crowd on Facebook, then you're probably going to use Facebook to increase your brand awareness and reach. Okay. These are also ironically the cheapest campaigns that you can get amongst all of them. Any campaign, when optimized correctly, you can get a pretty good return of investment. So to just give you an idea, for the local radio station that I just showed you, we ran a campaign for just 15 days, $1,000, and the radio station caters to Southeast Asian crowd. So we targeted Bollywood movie fans across the globe. In $1,000, we were able to get over 9 million unique people to we were able to get the ads in front of 9 million unique people with an impression that was at a frequency of 2. So about 17 million impressions. That's in $1,000. And the engagement was in the tune of over 200,000 page engagements, page and post engagements. We were also able to up the ante on their video views. Now, this is an entertainment channel. So by paying to advertise their views, and some of the views we got them as cheap as 1/10 of a second, 1/10 of a cent. But by paying to get more video views, we were also able to turn on monetization for the page. So I don't want to get into those details. Facebook is a large platform to study, but if this is something that entertainment industry and gamers focus on, which is to get people to come and pay subscriptions for their page or just even add in-stream ads. As you know, even Facebook has in-stream ads, but like YouTube, even Facebook has some monetization policies. So while Facebook will still continue to show ads, whether or not you get paid for it depends on your account's health. So we were able to do that for them. And even the 17,000 plus page likes, they were at under 10K. Now they are at over 27,000. All of that happened through just this 15-day campaign. But what you need to understand is that the audience was worldwide. The most expensive ad audience and also the audience with the biggest purchase power is the audience in the US. So if you are targeting people in North America, these numbers may or may not necessarily be the right numbers for you. One of the other things that you need to understand is that when you run these brand awareness and reach campaigns, Facebook at times will also show you the quality of your ads. And I think I browsed past that page. Facebook will show you the quality of the ads. But the thing is, just like it does with your regular organic post, that if you have more people engaging with it, it will show it to more people. Even with your posts, if you have more people engaging with your posts, Facebook will show it. You have more people engaging with your ads, Facebook will show it to more people. So that is something that you have to remember. In fact, when you create, it's a well-known fact, right? I don't think that in the past many years, I have seen ads on Facebook without a creative. I don't remember seeing text-only ads on Facebook anymore. Why? In fact, even if you look at the new Facebook layout, I don't know if you guys have been invited to the new trial, but if you look at the new Facebook layout, you will immediately see the difference and you will immediately see how much emphasis has been put on displaying and rendering the graphics well. So you have to make sure that you have creatives that reel in people. How often are you reading all the text as you're browsing through Facebook or Instagram on your page? So you need to create something that you know as thumb stopping. So when you get into ads, It's not just about the money that you put in, but also the quality of your ads. In fact, if your ad quality is good, you will spend lesser money in getting your message out to the people, and you'll also get better engagement. So you have to engage in that balancing act. You can't just throw money at Facebook and expect it to give you the results that you're looking for. So we just have 2 more minutes. I'm going to quickly wrap this up. We spoke about the different steps. So for brand awareness, you want to use the brand awareness or the reach campaigns. And they are simple. It's a guided process. As you uh, change your objective here, you can see that some of these things on the left-hand side also changes. If I go to reach, some of the options over here change. Then I have traffic. Traffic is when you want to get people to visit a certain link. Traffic is not just good to get website traffic, but if you have podcasts, if you want people to go to iTunes, you can use traffic objective. You cannot use it for app installs. If you try to use app, then it gives you an error because there is a special app installs objective. You have to just use that. Traffic can also be used to direct more people to your Instagram account. Why? Because if you check this out over here, when you go to engagement, you are able to actually create um, and you can optimize it further to get people to like your Facebook page, but you're not able to create a campaign to get people to follow your Instagram profile. So if you want to run something for your Instagram, then you can use traffic and you update the URL to take people to your Instagram profile. So just remember that difference. App installs. App installs is really just like traffic unless you have taken the Facebook code and embedded it within your app. So if you don't do that, then your app installs is just going to track your likes. It's just going to track the clicks. And what you have to do is go to the back end of Apple Store and Play Store to see whether you see any jump in conversions after running those ads. Video views, great for gamers, entertainment industry. And also it's a good way to get people more aware of your brand. What I have seen is that when you pay for video views, your reach is much lesser than the brand awareness and reach campaigns. However, you tend to have more people engage with those videos and you'll see a lot more 3 second plus video plays. Because whenever something's moving on the screen, it catches your attention even if it's for a couple of seconds. Then finally, you have the lead gen messages. Conversions, these are a great way to retarget your audience. So when you run your brand awareness, you are able to, and even your traffic, right? So you get all of these people to interact with your Facebook pixel, and now Facebook pixel has all of this data. Now you can use that data for conversions. When you run ad types like conversions, Facebook even learns from the ad type. So you will see initially you might not get as many conversions because Facebook is still learning. But then as you progress and as Facebook understands the audience that is interacting with it, you are able to use the information from that pixel, and Facebook pixel will learn from it and allow you to get more sales. So I think we have covered a lot of stuff in just this short master class of Facebook advertisement. The next thing, of course, for you to do is go and play around. If you have a really small budget, I would recommend just starting with $5 to $10 per day to see how your various campaigns perform. Run each campaign for a week. As I told you, the ads, the creatives, the graphics, even people get jaded with them. And then use Facebook's even their default analysis. As you can see here, you can just compare your campaigns from here, but you also have other charts that you can see from here. So you can look at targeting and creative, you can look at the video engagement, you can look at engagement across these campaigns. These are just the basic charts that you can look at, and then beyond that you also have creative reporting that you could use right here. So use all of this data to your advantage and don't just run ads. You always want to go back and start looking at how that ad has performed. Facebook also allows you to create split campaigns, but you could also just as well create two campaigns and set a budget for each one of them and see how those campaigns are performing. So use all of these tools at your disposal. And if you're a new firm, again, remember the first thing that you probably want to do is set up your business pages on Facebook, on Instagram, set up a business manager, and set up the pixel tracking code. And then when you are ready to actually leverage the full power of this Facebook ads platform, come back, start looking at the kind of audience that your pixel code has been interacting with. You will also have a lot more choice at that point. You will be able to have more minute targeting enabled because you have been collecting audience data for a while now. And then when you put money into your campaigns, that would be money well spent. Again, start your campaign with awareness. So let people feel good about your brand first, get them to engage with your brand. Then you start telling them about what you're trying to sell, and then you start pitching hard and try to convert them.